Hi everyone, it's me Erica and welcome back to my channel. So if you guys are new here, my name is Erica and I like to post videos on fashion, fitness, beauty, and self-improvement. And so if any of that interests you, feel free to check out some of my other stuff down below, and please feel free to join my little community that I'm growing here. Yeah, come vibe. So anyways, in today's video, I thought it would be kind of cool if I did a hot girl guide to money. Oh my gosh. So I know finances is a huge taboo topic among a lot of families and also among a lot of friends and just like in general, and even in like the workplace too. Like they don't want you talking about money. So I thought I would just give you guys a hot girl guide to money and just finances in general. Not a lot of people like to talk about finance, and I think financial conversations are more gatekept and are a lot more private. So I thought I would just share with you guys what I've learned and try to figure out going through my 20s. So I just wanted to put a little disclaimer here that like I am not a financial advisor, I'm not a finance guru, I don't have any sort of certification, and I don't have any sort of like license to be able to give you guys financial advice. These are just tips and tricks that I've learned growing up that I thought might be useful or helpful for some of you guys out there. I guess this is that video that I wish I had when I was younger. First step that I have for you guys is create a budget. I think for this one, I would just start by tracking your income and your expenses. So like track all the money that comes in and track all the money that goes out when you are spending. So this helps you actually get to know your finances and get to know like how much you're actually spending. A lot of people these days, they just swipe their card and they don't really know what money is going where. Maybe you'll find after you track it that you're like, oh, I actually eat out quite a lot. And like maybe that's a little bit too much. Or like maybe you find that you spend a lot of money on like makeup. Then like that's like another thing too, where you can kind of start to like budget down. But you would never know how to budget down if you didn't know your finances to begin with. This is definitely that step where it's whatever is measured can be managed. And right now we haven't measured anything. Like we haven't been keeping track of what is coming in versus what is going out. So we don't know that, and we need to get familiar with that. And I think the best way to go about it is by starting by tracking your spending and also tracking your income too, to see if you're living above your means or to see if you are overspending in certain categories. Another tip that I've seen a lot of people do with this creating a budget category is they've gone to like cash envelope stuffing. I love seeing those videos. Those videos are so fun, and like I think that's another way too, where if you don't trust yourself with a credit card, then you can definitely do cash envelope stuffings, and once you run out of that cash, you know that you've reached your limit. So for me, the next step would be to create an emergency fund. So you never know when a rainy day comes, or like you just never know when you're gonna have to dip into your savings, or just life happens and things happen and you just never know when you're gonna be needing extra cash, and that may not be cash that you have right now. So that's why I think creating an emergency fund is definitely a good idea. A lot of Americans do not have like $500 saved up that they could spend if anything were to happen. And that's not gonna be us, girl. That is not gonna be us. We are going to be able to have that saved up. So this is why we need to create an emergency fund for any day where we're like, oh my God, we did not think that this was gonna happen. Or you just never know when little things add up, or you just never know when you need to have an emergency fund. So I think this is definitely important. I guess this would vary from person to person. A lot of people say that it should be 3 to 6 months of like your expenses saved up, and that may not be feasible to everybody. So maybe this might be a dollar amount instead. So like this could be like $500 saved up, or just like $1,000 saved up, just in case anything were to happen. And we're talking about like big expenses, like just in case you have to go to like a doctor and you have to pay that medical bill. Or maybe you lose your job or you get laid off. Like you're gonna need some money saved up so that you can still afford to live. And I think an emergency fund just really gives you that sense of like security and safety net that like a lot of people definitely want to have, where it's just like, oh, it's okay because you know that you had saved up from the past to be able to prepare for this in the future. So it's like, you know that you got yourself. You know that you had been preparing for something like this, and that way when it does happen, you will be thanking your past self, being like, thank you so much for saving this for me because I really needed it right now. So the next step that I would have after we have set a budget and after we have done our emergency fund, now we're able to finally get into an investment. So this is where we are going to start investing early. The earlier, the better for this. So I don't want to sound like too much of like a finance bro or anything like that, but like, yes, definitely like putting in money early into the stock market, you are able to see those returns and those dividends grow so fast, especially compared to if you were to put them in later. Something about investing is just that like the time in the market is way more important than how you time the market. So I just think that the earlier you start investing, the more benefits you're going to be able to see with your money growing a lot faster. And that's because of the eighth wonder of the world, which is compound interest. They always say that the best time to have planted a tree is 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. The next step that I would do is I would definitely educate ourselves financially. This would be meaning that we need to invest some time into actually learning about finance and into learning about how money works. I think it definitely benefits you if you take some time into investing in yourself and gaining that knowledge of personal finance. And this could be in the form of like reading books or like taking online courses or like watching educational YouTube videos. I think some of the ones that they do recommend is definitely like Think and Grow Rich. That's a big one. They also recommend like Rich Dad Poor Dad. They also recommend like The Psychology of Money. There's a lot of different books out there that are talking about personal finance. So I would definitely recommend checking out some of them. And I think once you've read a couple, it'll definitely level you up. You only need about like 2 to 3 books on any sort of subject to go from beginner to knowing something. And that will definitely shorten the gap in between your knowledge. And you also are helping yourself because you're getting to know more about your personal finances. So another tip that I have for you guys is definitely to practice smart spending. We need to start adopting mindful spending habits that align with our money goals that we have. This means that we need to differentiate between the wants and the needs. This also means that we need to avoid impulse buying and purchasing. And the way we do this is by practicing delayed gratification. This is where we say no to something right now in hopes of being able to get something bigger in the future. This is where we really need to be disciplined and we really need to focus on our micro purchases that are limiting us from getting our macro wants and needs that we want more. So like this is like saying no to buying like a lipstick such as this one for $8 now in hopes that we're able to buy a huger thing that we want in the future, such as like say a laptop for school or such as say like a car to be able to go to work. Do you really need another perfume after having a whole shelf of them? No. You know? And it's like, oh, you could save that money and put it towards something that you actually need in the future or something even bigger that you want, such as like say a house. And practicing that will definitely give you that discipline of not always impulsively buying something just to fill a sense of want and need in the moment. And I feel like for me, that's definitely like the concept of like girl math that has been happening around. So no, you do not need that extra lip gloss or you do not need that other perfume and you do not need that shirt that's in a slightly different color that you'll wear maybe. You know? So another tip that I have for you guys is one that I don't really hear a lot of people saying, but I would definitely include it. And that would be to not go about bragging or exposing how much you are making. No one should know how much you make besides yourself and also anyone that you are like legally obligated to. And I'm saying this because of a lot of like TikTok trends and stuff like that, or a lot of just like online things where it's become really normalized to be able to just be like, oh, and asking people on the street how much money they have or how much money they make. And I don't know, I just feel like that is a little too personal and I feel like that's only for people who need to know, which is just you. And as long as you're taking care of everything that you have, then I feel like no one else needs to know that. Just because it could put like a target on your back. And I just feel like that is not something that we want to do. We are going to be mindful and we are going to be very secretive and we're just gonna know that we are secure, okay? No one else needs to know that about ourselves except for us. We just need to know that we are taken care of by us, okay? We're good over here. So I'm gonna need you to not post any pictures of money that you have. Don't post your checks. Don't post any sort of like tips that you've earned. Don't post anything like that. Don't post your flashy new car that you bought. And absolutely don't be posting your credit card information and absolutely don't be posting your bank balances or anything like that. Keep that stuff private. That is only for you. I think like there's this quote where it's like, oh, don't go broke trying to impress others. Exactly that, for sure. And I think that goes into my next tip, which is beware of scams. Oh my gosh. In today's digital age, it is so easy to get involved with scams. Like there's so many scams out there. And this also goes into like any sort of scams or any sort of get rich quick schemes or any sort of like MLMs or anything like that. Same thing with all these courses that all these financial gurus are selling you. That doesn't work either. And I just feel this just goes into like my personal belief or like this just goes into the way I'm thinking about it where it's like, no one will ever help you get more money for free unless they were boosting their own money as well. Like, I just think where it's just like, oh, if they're doing so well and they are making so much money, why would they help you do the same unless they were benefiting from it? You know what I mean? So just be careful. Like, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no such thing as like getting rich super quick. Like, I would just be very mindful and very wary about that. Definitely. But some of you guys like to learn from experience, so just be careful. So then my next tip would definitely be multiple streams of income. This could come in like the version of like side hustles, reselling, flipping, having a part-time job, having a second job. This could be dividends. And I think with this step too, as well with every step, is just be careful. Like, you don't want to accidentally get sucked into like a scam or anything like that, or you don't want to put yourself in risky situations just for a little bit of extra cash. So like, this could be in the form of like, maybe you do nails, so maybe you can do some of your friends' nails for a couple of extra dollars. Or this could be like reselling stuff where you like buy something and it's like really cheap, or like you just find it really cheap or like in a good deal, and then you're able to like turn around and sell it for a little bit more. Like, that's something you can do too. Or you can try like asking for like some extra shifts, or you can also try asking around, seeing if there's like a second job that you're able to do. The most important one, I think, out of all of this, which is investing in yourself. Just be educated. Like, this is in the form of like taking courses, learning new skills, building something up for yourself. Like, this could be starting a business for yourself. This could be learning new skills, or like this could be taking your hobbies and making it into a small business. And I think this one's the best one because of the fact that like, once you have those skills and once you learn that, that is something that you will always keep with you forever. Like, no one can take that away from you, and you never know when that skill can come in handy and set you apart from the rest of your applicants that you are up against for a job, or where that could actually help you off the clock when you're at home, where you find that your business is actually making more than your 9 to 5. With such a fast-paced, like, growing society, you never know what skills are going to be needed. Like, you never know when like maybe you just so happen to have taken like a coding class and they just so happen to need a coder. Or it could be like, you never know like when your camera gear that you just use for fun on the side as like a hobby could turn into something that you actually make money off of if you rented out that equipment, or if you actually ended up like being booked for photography gigs. Or like, if you really like baking, you can start like an Instagram page on baking, and maybe people might actually want to order something from you for events. I think that would be really cool. Like cake pops, or just like a cake in general. That's awesome. Always automate as much as you can. I love doing this because I don't even have to put in any sort of effort, and I just know that it happens. I do this with my Roth IRA account. I'll just make sure that I have money coming out of my bank account and going straight in there, so I don't even have to worry about it, or I don't even have to lift a finger to move the money at all. I already know that it's going to be there. Same thing with like my credit card payment. I have that set on automatic for full every single month, just so that way I know that I'm never missing a payment, because once you miss a payment, girl, they're gonna get you. And I think this is a good one because it's like, let the money and the technology work for you. And I think it just takes a little bit of the effort off of you, and it just gives you a little bit more peace of mind, I think. If you think of your money as like your workforce working for you, then definitely think of it as like, oh, this money over here is going to work over there in my Roth IRA account. This money over here is going to work over there to pay off my credit card. This money over here is going to go into my emergency fund. Like, make sure all of your dollars are working for you. Like, make sure none of them are on vacation just being like, oh, I don't know what to do, just spend me. No, make sure they all have a job, and make sure you know where they're going and where they're allocated. It's a balance. Like, it's a balance of being smart and savvy, but also being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, because it's literally the fruits of your labor. I think it just comes from like what works for you and like what is tailored towards you. Like, there are certain categories for you where you're like, you know what, this gives me a lot of joy, so I don't mind putting more money into that. And that could be in the form of like hobbies or anything like that, like any big investment items, such as like, I'll give you an example. Like, I spent pretty good money on this one, and this is a laptop, but this has allowed me to definitely like edit a lot faster, and it was a pretty big investment, but I think it's definitely helped with making my workflow a lot easier. So sometimes you have to think about like, what upgrades would actually help you. Is tech something that you really want to invest in, and like for what reason, and like how much happiness does that give you? And I think for me, that was definitely a smart decision, because I knew that this would allow me to work on videos a lot faster, which is something that I'm actively pursuing at the moment, you know? That's the same thing with like all the camera gear that I have, where it's like, oh, I knew that it was a really big investment, but the thing is that I had been saving up for camera gear for a while, And it was also the fact that I knew that it would work even outside of whatever it is that I wanted it to do in the first place. You want to make sure that you are putting your money to good use for you. And that looks different from every person. Like if you're someone who likes to be very crafty, let's try to see if we can find some more money that we've been using a little bit more carelessly that we can move in to use for crafts, do something that we actually really enjoy. So I think with that, I think we've reached the end of this Hot Girl Money Guide from me. So I would definitely love to hear your tips and tricks, and like I would definitely want to hear like what you guys are implementing, or like what has helped you with managing your money. I would really want to know because I want to learn more too. Yeah, and if you guys are implementing any of this, I would really want to know what one really stood out to you the most. So I think that's pretty much the end of this video, and I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. It means so much to me, and I am so excited to be on this journey, and I would really love it if you guys joined me on it too. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye!